Well, we're just kind of waiting for everybody kind of to join in here in a few minutes, and we're going to talk about the tragedy that the events that took place leading up to the tragedy that happened down there in Central Texas on July the 4th here in just a few minutes here. I just cannot believe, um, the amount of horribleness that we see in today's world, all because of politics. I can't believe the amount of negativity. I mean, I will say this: that the amount of positivity, and positive thoughts and vibes and prayers greatly outnumbers the negative ones. But the problem is here there shouldn't be any negative ones at all, and there is. And again, it doesn't matter at all. Doesn't matter at all what side of the political spectrum you're on. This was not a political event. Politics had zero to do with this here, and it shouldn't be brought up in this type of a situation at all here. Misinformation. I'm going to share with you a lot of details here in just a moment about what all happened, what actually happened. The amount of misinformation that's going around on social media about this is incredibly horrible. I mean, the National Weather Service budget cuts had zero to do with this. In fact, the National Weather Service was staffed with extra people on this particular night for that event here. The weather data that was coming in did a good job in forecasting a heavy rain event. It did nail 20 inches of rain? No, but it did do a good job with saying there's going to be a lot of rain down here in this area. HRRR computer model, which I love, did a great job with it. There was plenty of warnings that were given out. Warnings started early and they went right through it. The National Weather Service did a phenomenal job with this. And those guys down there in the San Antonio office should not hang their heads down at all, because they did a phenomenal job with this here. And I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody. That's not my responsibility here at all. Hey, what's up, Gracie? So what I want to do is kind of take a look at, some things about what happened here. I'm also going to take a look at cloud seeding. So let's kind of get into all that real quick here. So this is not my normal, this isn't the normal, I gotta turn my computer on. The normal, like, fun, goofy, primetime weather. I just feel like, after these events that took place that, tonight's not the time for it. So, we'll get back to the fun stuff tomorrow night, but I just wanted to kind of talk about this for a little bit here. I've only got about 10 minutes, so we'll kind of dig into it. And I'm going to post some videos up here, try to post them before I leave, kind of talking about, my thoughts on all of this here. So give me a second so I can pull all of this information up here on my computer. And then once I get it up, we can go full screen with it. I'm going to show you a timeline of how all this stuff played out here. And then we'll go with, I'm gonna turn the overlay off so that maybe get a bigger screen here. So let's go with, with this graphic here. We're gonna go full screen with it. All right, so let's start. I'm gonna start with a timeline graphic. Is what I'm doing here. Let me make sure all this looks good. I'm gonna go back over here. I'll go back to full screen in a second. Yeah, there it is. That looks good. All right, so let's try to go here. That's better. All right, now we hit play and we'll go here. All right, so this is a timeline of how things unfolded here. We're going to start on July the 3rd at 1 p.m. This is the day before the event happened. Less than 24 hours, but a day before the event. So a flood watch is issued around 1 p.m. on July the 3rd. That went through early Friday. Model weather data coming in suggesting that there's going to be some heavy rain in this region. It suggests that flooding could be a problem. Now, how big is it going to be? Well, I mean, as of this time, we're just watching the situation. And again, this is from the National Weather Service standpoint here. At 6 p.m. on July the 3rd, the Weather Prediction Center issued what's called a excessive rainfall outlook. They issued like 2 or 3 of them around this time. And they start highlighting that excessive rainfall is going to be a problem and flooding could be a big issue down in this area. So the Hydrological Prediction Center jumps on board at 6:22 on July the 3rd. and they issue what's called considerable flood potential. I mean, this is upping the game now here. It's just showing that not only are we dealing with excessive rainfall, excessive flooding, but we're also dealing with considerable floods. That means they could be pretty significant here. That's from the Hydrological Prediction Center around 6:22 on July the 3rd. The first, so rain began falling and thunderstorms began increasing down here around Kerr and Bandera County here in central Texas, down there on the Guadalupe. Around 11:41 p.m., July the 3rd, the first flash flood warning was issued for Bandera County here. After midnight, this is now jumping into July the 4th. The flash flood warning now included not only Bandera but also Kerr County, and they issue and included a tag on there that said that talked about how the flooding was going to be considerable. And again, that's a step up from just a flash flood warning. That is a hey, look, this is considerable flooding can take place here. Then at around 4:03, a flash flood emergency was issued for central Kerr County. That rain just continued to add up. Flooding was a big problem along, flash flood warning and flooding along the Guadalupe was a big problem there. So flash flood emergency, and they knew that the river was rising and there's about to be a big flood that was going to take place down there in Kerr County. And then at 5:34 a.m. There on July the 4th, the flash flood emergency was issued for the Guadalupe River there. And this water came up incredibly fast. You've seen the video, the wall of water just coming down the river. Again, from a weather service standpoint, they did a great job of getting the word out there. This was not an issue because of staffing. This was not an issue because of lack of data, because it was all there. And everything is issued the way it's supposed to be. This was a disaster, a natural disaster that happens periodically throughout the existence of the earth. It just so happened on perhaps the worst day of the entire year for a big flood event to happen on the Guadalupe, because you have the 4th of July, people are camping, people are, ready for outdoor activities. And in most cases, down there in Guadalupe, that's a good place to flow through the river and have fun. You have the camp in full play. Everything is great, except when there is a big flood event, that is not a good place to be. So some people are saying that cloud seeding had an issue, played a role in it. Well, let's talk about what cloud seeding is here. All right, so cloud seeding is meant to encourage clouds to produce rain. Now, not just any cloud. It has to be a developing thunderstorm or a developing shower. You have to see the cloud. You have to see it on satellite. They have to see it on radar. Have to see a little bit of a return there, and then they can begin to see echoes. Then they go in and they fly, and the whole concept is to fly a plane into this developing shower here, and they release silver iodine. That silver iodine is supposed to bond with the molecules there in the cloud to help trigger ice crystal growth. And as more ice crystals grow, the heavier the cloud gets, and it produces and begins to fall out of the cloud. And it's supposed to help increase precipitation amounts and rain amounts here. But the problem with this is, if you want to try to blame cloud seeding on this particular event that happened down there in Kerr and Bandera and all those areas down there, is cloud seeding doesn't really have that much of an impact. We tried it here in Wichita Falls many, many years ago, and it did nothing. So it only increases the rain over a small area, about 5 to 15%, and that is it here. That is it. It does not generate large areas of rain. It does not generate large areas of storm. So it was impossible for this to create or even enhance this flood that took place down there on the Guadalupe. So that's not only from just from a meteorological perspective, but that's also from a meteorologist that's been doing this for a long, long time. I'm talking about me. I'm credited by the American Meteorological Society, and anybody that's that's got a degree in meteorology or climate or anything like that would tell you the same thing, that cloud seeding could not. It's impossible for it to create something like this. In fact, when we were in that drought back all those years ago, and they tried it, it didn't do anything. Not for us here, nothing. I mean, if it did, it didn't do much. I remember looking up and seeing the plane fly into the cloud, and it didn't do anything. Our drought was ended here by a stalled frontal boundary that just produced a bunch of storms over the watershed all in one night or a couple of nights. Kind of similar to what happened down there, only ours wasn't tropical in nature. Ours were more thunderstorm related. Theirs were more tropical in nature. So let's kind of talk about what caused this flood. So we were watching Tropical Storm Barry along the Mexico coastline, days before this event took place, early last week here. Wasn't much to it, but there was that moisture and that leftover little spin from it moved across northern Mexico and into southern and central Texas, and it kind of just sat there here. So you had this little spin. You also had all this moisture coming in from the Gulf. You had also some moisture coming in from a tropical system in the Pacific here. So while you didn't have two merging hurricanes or two merging storms, you did have merging moisture coming up from two different moisture sources here. And this time of the year, our upper atmospheric winds are very, very weak. So this tropical system is just sitting there. Nothing is pushing it out of the way. It's just sitting there spinning and spinning and spinning. And during the daytime hours, these things expand with widespread showers and the storms. And then at night, they contract. And when they begin to contract, they'll produce an area of heavy rain, usually over a small area, but it'll dump a lot of rain over a short period of time here. And again, this weak upper atmospheric winds caused training. It caused slow movement of this whole storm and whatnot here. And also the terrain was a big issue as well. If you know anything about hill country in Texas, it's real rocky. There's not a lot of soils. That heavy rain, it all just poured down the mountainside and right there into the Guadalupe River, creating an ideal situation for a major, major flood event here. So again, I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody and what happened with this event. I am just saying that from a weather standpoint, a weather service standpoint, and from a meteorological standpoint, the data was there and the warnings were given. Now, as to why the people didn't get the warnings or receive the warnings, I have several thoughts on that. Again, I'm not one, Alex. I'm not one to say that why they didn't get the warnings there. I'm not saying from that standpoint. I'm saying from the standpoint of a weather standpoint. The warnings were released. They were given out. Now, as far as the people that are there with the camps and along the rivers, what kind of warning system they have in place, I don't know. But that stuff's going to go to an app. I don't know what the cell phone service was like in that area. That stuff's going to go to a NOAA weather radio. That stuff is going to go to places that you will get it. What their warning system was, I have no idea, and I'm not able to speculate on that because I don't know. But I do know from a weather standpoint, National Weather Service, they did a hell of a job. And those guys should be very proud of what they did. And I know they're probably beating themselves up over it, and they shouldn't. They did all they could do. There are some things that need to be looked at here. And, the things that should be looked at are, of course, are we issuing too many warnings? I think that we do. I think we do issue too many warnings, but the Weather Service has a criteria and they have to follow it. I think they issue in some parts of the country, they issue too many tornado warnings, too many severe thunderstorm warnings. And all the hype and my thoughts on all this hype on social media. It's the whole crying wolf syndrome. If you overhype something too much and nothing ever happens, or if you overwarn something too much and nothing ever happens, then what happens? You stop believing it. And you say, oh, they're just saying that mess that they always say. So maybe we do overwarn. I don't issue warnings. I'm saying the Weather Service, they issue the warnings. Maybe they do. Maybe they don't. I don't know. I can't fault them for what they did here. I can't fault them at all. Because they did what they're supposed to do. The criteria was met. They issued the warnings, and I just don't know what happened as far as, the information about how they got it and that kind of stuff, their warning system at the campgrounds and that kind of stuff. But the Weather Service did their job. All right, I got to go. I got to get dressed here. But I thank you for being a part of this and letting me vent to you a little bit and kind of give you a little perspective about what really happened versus what didn't happen. Not political at all. And, it's just tragic.